hold at Frankfurt High School, our annual Veterans Day program. Today, we pause from our daily routines to express our deepest gratitude to the men and women who have served and who continue to serve in the armed forces of the United States. Your courage, sacrifice, and your commitment to something greater than yourselves have protected the freedoms and opportunities we enjoy every single day. On behalf of our students, staff, and the entire Frankfurt community, we thank you. For me personally, this day holds special meaning. My own father, Captain Michael Marion, proudly served in the Indiana Army National Guard for 23 years and was the company commander right here at our Frankfurt National Guard Armory. Through his service, I witnessed firsthand the values of leadership, discipline, and dedication that define our veterans. I respect the deep pride and sacrifice that come with wearing the uniform, not only for those who serve, but for their families as well. Here at Frankfurt High School, we want our gratitude to extend beyond one day of the year. We are proud to announce our intention to become an Indiana Department of Education Purple Star School, a designation that recognizes schools that go above and beyond to honor and support military-connected students and families. Becoming a Purple Star School means we are committing to purposeful action. Our commitment includes designating a staff member to serve as our military family liaison, providing information and resources to students and families connected to military service, hosting programs like today's ceremony that teach our students the meaning of service, duty, and patriotism, ensuring that every student from a military family feels seen, supported, and valued here at Frankfurt High School, offering all veterans who apply for a position at Frankfurt High School an interview, and in partnership with our local veterans and active military members, we will work on creating a junior ROTC program for our students at Frankfurt High School. This morning, you'll hear from several of our own students who will share what Veterans Day means to them and why it's important that we, as a school and as individuals, connect with our veterans who are our role models and mentors. Their reflections remind us that service and leadership are not just words. They are values we live out through action, character, and community. We are also deeply honored to welcome back to his alma mater our keynote speaker, retired Lieutenant Colonel Travis Kelly, a proud graduate of Frankfurt High School. Lieutenant Colonel Kelly's distinguished military career and continued commitment to leadership and service are a shining example of what it means to carry hot dog pride beyond these walls and into the world. His story embodies the very principles we celebrate today: honor, courage, and devotion to country. To our veterans in attendance today, thank you for showing us what it means to live with courage and conviction. You are, and always will be, a part of our Frankfurt family. We are proud to honor you today and every day. Thank you, and God bless our veterans, our students, and the United States of America. And now, it's my pleasure to introduce our student MC for today's program, Max Whitlock. Max is a junior at Frankfurt High School and the son of Mr. and Mrs. Todd and Brooke Whitlock. He is the class of 2027 president, a member of National Honor Society, Student Council, Youth Rise, and the band. Max is also a three-sport athlete participating in swim, cross country, and track. Max has aspirations of attending Purdue University to study political science and then law, with the hopes of one day serving and representing our citizens as a politician. Please join me in welcoming our student MC, Max Whitlock, to the podium. Max.
Good morning. Please rise, remove all hats, face the flag, and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the playing of our national anthem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, was so proudly we hailed, and the stars are seen, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight were the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streamed, and the rocket's red glow, the most bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Today, we're here to recognize the veterans who have served our country. Because of you, we have the freedom to go to school, play sports, and live our lives the way we choose. You've carried responsibilities and made sacrifices that most of us will never fully understand, and we're here to acknowledge that. Many people, especially in my generation, don't always stop to think about what veterans have done for us. But today, we want you to know that we see you, we respect you, and we thank you. As students here at Frankfort High School, we are aiming to keep that appreciation alive every day, not just on Veterans Day. On behalf of everyone here, thank you for your service, and thank you for everything you've done for our country. Our first student speaker today is Caroline Queen. Caroline is a junior at Frankfort High School. She is active on our volleyball and softball teams, student council, SAD, and National Honor Society. In the future, Caroline intends to go to university and obtain her doctorate in a field related to pharmaceuticals. Caroline is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Kristen and Charles Queen. Caroline's grandfather, Edward Joseph Nemeth, has served in the Army, and he is the inspiration for her speech today. Caroline.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I want to start off by giving thanks to all the veterans present here today. Not only them, but those who continue to serve our country and those who will serve our country in the future. Each and every one of you has dedicated your blood, sweat, and tears into this country, and for that, I am forever grateful. For this Veterans Day, I would like to take a moment to talk about a veteran I hold dear to my heart, my grandpa. His name was Edward Joseph Nemeth. To his friends, he was simply Ed, but to me, he was Grandpa. He served 2 years in the Army during the Vietnam War. Although he wanted to serve overseas with his fellow servicemen, he was stationed in California as a supply clerk. On March 1st of 1976, he was honorably discharged due to the return of his rheumatic fever. With the GI Bill he received after being discharged, he was able to complete undergraduate schooling and then eventually complete law school. By the time he was finished with law school, he had married my grandma. Later, he would use the degree he earned to become a juvenile judge. It is sad to say, but the information I just gave you all is all I know about his service in the Army. He liked to keep those years close to his heart, and he was not very keen on sharing his thoughts and feelings about his service with his wife or children. If someone had just asked him, I'm sure he would have told them of the challenges he faced or of the lessons he learned. Unfortunately, my family will never get to gather this insight from him because he passed away in 2015. All of those untold stories were lost of time simply because we hadn't asked him about his service time. To those of you listening to me speak today, if you know a veteran, I implore you to learn their story. If they don't wish to speak on it, that's okay. Their decision should be respected. But many veterans can simply be waiting for their chance to speak out. If you open their door, I'm sure they will lead you through their hallway troubles and into a room of wisdom. Veterans have dedicated an enormous amount of time to protecting our country. Not only did they face trials physically, but mentally as well. Sometimes they were subconsciously plagued with the thoughts that they may never get to go back home, back to their friends, parents, spouses, even their kids. While these thoughts sat at the back of their minds, they were forced to push forward, learn lessons, meet their comrades, create new friends. Their train did not stop at a station forever. It had to keep moving forward. There might have been rocky patches or some forks in the tracks, but their train kept chugging. Not knowing what tracks will lead to trouble, they are able to navigate more easily. This knowledge should have a chance to be passed on and not kept in the confines of their own minds. So once again, I urge you to take time to sit down with a veteran in your life and simply ask them about their service. Learn from my family's mistakes, open your minds, and allow those more experienced than you to guide you. Once again, to all the veterans present listening today, I would like to offer up my sincerest thanks. There is truly nothing that I can say to express the thanks within my heart, but I will try anyway. Thank you for putting your own life on the line for the sake of those who are living in this country today and for offering your own hands for us to walk on. As our former president, Ronald Reagan, once said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. You have fought valiantly and bravely to pass on your torch so that your light may continue to shine upon this country. With the light you have given, I'm able to stand at this podium today and acknowledge the warmth it has provided me and the people of this country. So for all that you have done, thank you.
Next, we would like to introduce Chloe Mowdy. Chloe is a junior and active in volleyball, softball, student council, and National Honor Society. Chloe plans to go to college and major in elementary education with the plan of staying close to Frankfurt to teach early elementary school. Chloe is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Chris and Mary Mowdy. Chloe.
Good morning. I want to start off by introducing my brother Matthew. Sadly, he's unable to be here today due to his job. But when he was 17, before he even graduated high school, he made the decision to serve his country. With our parents' support and blessing, he joined the Army. After he graduated from high school, he went to Fort Benning, Georgia to start his basic training to be a 19-kilo tanker. 3 months later, he graduated from basic training, and for the next 4 years, he was stationed at Fort Riley, Kansas. We got to visit him a couple of times, and he even got to come home for Christmas. But later on, he was deployed to South Korea, where he was stationed for 10 months during COVID. When he came back to the States, he was sent to Miami to help with vaccinations until his service was up. As a 4th grader, I was scared, and I didn't know much about what he did. I didn't know why he wanted to be in the Army or why he would put himself through all that. I was proud of him for it. I knew he was brave enough to handle anything that came his way. Even though I didn't know exactly what he was doing, I saw that my parents and family were worried about him, and I knew he could be in danger at any time or called to be somewhere more dangerous. We were all relieved when he came back to us safe and sound. Now that I'm older, what he did impacts me even more. When I asked my brother why he wanted to join, he said, I didn't know what else to do, and I thought the Army could help give me direction. I now understand the sacrifices that he made to be away from his family for so long and to be willing to do whatever it takes to protect this country and others around the world. And this means a lot to me. The sacrifices he made are the same sacrifices that every veteran has had to make. Now I see Veterans Day on a more personal level, and for that I will be forever grateful for my brother and other veterans before and after him. Thank you.
Our final student speaker is Addison Gephardt. Addie is a junior and is the daughter of Sean Gephardt, who served in the Army for 8 years. Addie is active in volleyball, student council, doghouse, and many more clubs. She plans on attending college to become an ultrasound technician. Addie.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Addison Gephardt, and today I want to talk to you about what freedom means to me and how veterans like my dad protect it every day. To me, freedom is the simple things that we often take for granted. Waking up in a safe home, going to school without fear, speaking my mind, and dreaming about my future. It's playing outside with friends, celebrating holidays together as a family, and knowing that tomorrow will be okay. But freedom isn't free. It comes with the cost paid by brave men and women in uniform. Memorial Day is to honor those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, but Veterans Day is to honor those who have served our country with the willingness to give their lives for the freedoms we enjoy daily. Veterans protect our freedoms by standing ready to defend our country, even when it means leaving everything behind. They guard our right to vote, to worship as we choose, to learn and grow without oppression. Without their courage and sacrifice, those everyday things could disappear. My dad served in the military, and that service shaped our whole family. It taught us about sacrifice, missing birthdays, holidays, and bedtime stories because duty called. There were long periods of absences where we counted the days until he came home, but it also filled us with pride seeing him wear the uniform with honor and knowing he was a part of something bigger than us. We built resilience, we learned to grow, support each other, and stay strong no matter what. And behind every service member is a family that supports them. Moms, dads, siblings, and children who hold down the home front and send care packages to keep the love alive across 1,000 miles. My dad once told me a story about his time in basic training, where one time a soldier messed up and they were all forced to low crawl through the mud. The way he told the story was not to reflect on the personal sacrifice, but was to teach me that sometimes in life, one person makes a decision that will impact my life also. And the way I respond in those instances will speak more about my character than in the moments when everything is going perfect and according to plan. We all make thousands of decisions a day, and whether we are aware of our decisions or not, they are constantly impacting those around us. We may not all be forced to low crawl through the mud, but our decisions do impact those around us. So he taught me to be intentional with my choices and make sure I consider all potential paths. Another story about my dad before I wrap up. He was so proud of his service and enjoyed being a part of something bigger than himself. However, one day his world as he knew it came to a screeching halt when he was told that I, his daughter, was being neglected by the person responsible for me while he was gone. In this moment, he did not hesitate to make a decision and did whatever it took to take me from those conditions and make sure I was safe, cared for, and loved deeply. He left the military that day and requested an honorable discharge so that he could focus his time and energy on my well-being. He gave up his dreams so that I could live my dreams. Now I personally have all the luxuries and freedoms that I have today because of my dad and his sacrifices. In the end, Veterans Day is a day to remind us to say thank you, not just with words, but by cherishing our freedoms and honoring those who protect them. To all veterans, including my dad, thank you for your service, your sacrifice, and showing us what true freedom looks like. My dad is not only my greatest role model in life, but he is my hero, and I am beyond grateful for the sacrifice he made in my younger years so that we could live the way we do now. Thank you.
Next, we invite our veterans to stand at the playing of their branch's national anthem as our Frankfort High School Band and Orchestra performs the Armed Forces Salute.
The Army. The Air Force. The Navy. The Coast Guard. The Marines.
It is my honor and privilege to introduce our distinguished speaker, retired Lieutenant Colonel Travis Kelly. Travis is a proud alumni of Frankfort High School. He was the salutatorian of the class of 1991 and earned multiple varsity letters in his 4 years of competition in track and cross country. Upon graduation from FHS, Travis spent the next 4 years at Purdue, earning a Bachelor's of Science degree in Aviation Technology in 1995. Travis was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps and went on to the Naval Air Station in Pensacola, where he graduated #1 in his flight school class and earned his Naval Aviator wings. Travis then spent 22 years in the United States Marine Corps, serving in several FAA-18 Hornet squadrons. Throughout his career, Travis flew over 150 combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan, earning 7 Air Medals and a Navy Commendation Medal with Valor. Flew over 3,000 hours in the FA-18 Hornet, and made over 300 career landings aboard the USS Constellation and USS Nimitz. Travis also graduated with honors from U.S. Naval War College, earning a master's degree in strategy and policy development. Travis's final flying assignment was as commanding officer of Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 232, the oldest and most decorated fighter squadron in the United States Marine Corps. Travis, his wife Jennifer, son Ryan, and daughter Claire moved back to Frankfort upon his retirement as a lieutenant colonel. Travis now flies a Boeing 767 for FedEx and owns and operates a 1957 T-28C naval training aircraft at Frankfort Airport. Travis was most recently inducted into the Frankfort Hall of Fame in 2024. Please welcome retired Lieutenant Colonel Travis Kelly.
Hey, first I'd really like to thank the band and the choir. That was really tremendous. Thanks for your performances here. It makes the day just that much more special. Somebody might have seen me out in the parking lot trying to get my uniform on today. Every time I put this on, it gets a little harder. There's plenty of room up here. There's zero room down here. I don't think any button should be asked to do what this button is doing right now. But I got it on, and I'm happy to be here today. Thank you, Superintendent Rhoda, Dr. Rhoda, Principal Flynn, and Social Studies teacher Davis, and the entire staff and student body here at Frankfurt, my alma mater, for allowing me to speak to you today on this special occasion. The first Frankfurt Hot Dog High School Veterans Day event. That's going to be awesome, and I bet it's going to be something this community looks forward to every year. I'd also like to say a special Happy Veterans Day and a thank you for your service to all the veterans in the gym. I haven't been in this arena since I graduated in 1991. I'm super excited to be here today and share a little bit of what my experiences were and what Veterans Day means to me. As I began preparing for my remarks, I thought I'd just grab one of the Veterans Day speeches I gave at Clinton Prairie or Clinton Central back in 2016 or 2017 timeframe. I thought, let's make this easy. Why wouldn't you just take a paper you've already written, right? Something you wrote for social studies, you could use it for history, right? So that's what I thought I would do. I started reading those papers, those speeches, and I realized that my perspective has changed too much. They were no longer valid. When I wrote those, I was fresh out of the Marine Corps, 21, 22 years of service, and after this past decade, my perspective has changed. So I had to rewrite this. I had to write something new. Some things that haven't changed, though, are the feelings of loss that are especially poignant for me today, really every day, but especially today. Brian Shelby, Doug Aguilera, Darren Jewell, Brett Hines, Rich Pugh, Ernie Sides, Teddy Treadwell, Kelly Hines, Reed Nannon, Chris Rabel, and Ty Serene. These were all friends I lost along the way during my time flying fighters in the United States Marine Corps. I think of them often, and each of their stories often. I'd like to tell you a brief story about one of them today, my friend Chris Rabel. So Chris is the same age as me. He went to Pennsylvania University. I went to Purdue University. We both went to officer candidate school during our college years. We went to the basic school in Quantico, Virginia, after graduating college. We then went to flight school in Pensacola together. We went to Kingsville, Texas to learn how to fly jets together. And then I went off to fly F-18s, and he went off to fly the Harrier, the AV-8B Harrier. So our career paths really kind of mirrored each other all along, and he was a really good friend. I had lots of time with him. We went to Afghanistan in 2010 in my F-18 squadron. I was XO of the squadron, and it was some of the worst fighting we've really had in the global war on terrorism. 2010 was the height of the troop surge. We had the most Marines that we've ever had in southern Helmand province during that time frame. I left Afghanistan around 2011, and Chris Rabel, his squadron, he took command of his squadron, and he went over in this Harrier squadron. I took command of my squadron, but I went to Japan, no combat for my commanding officer tour. While Chris was there, the fighting was intense, same as when we were there. Our base was rocketed almost every night. There were multiple attempts to breach the perimeter fence on the base. And while Chris was at Camp Bastion as a commanding officer, he was driving to his quarters to sleep for the night after a day of flying when he saw and heard a huge explosion on Camp Bastion there in Afghanistan. He immediately turned his car around, drove towards the explosion. The base was being attacked, and specifically the squadron was being attacked. Several insurgents had gotten through the fence, and they were throwing grenades into the intakes of the AV-8B Harrier, blowing up these jets. The fuel farm had exploded as they blew up the fuel farm, and they were using rocket-propelled grenades to attack the squadron. Chris immediately took charge. He runs out, grabs a Marine, Sergeant Bradley Atwell, who's actually from this area up around Kokomo. They ran out to defend the squadron as best they could with the small arms that they were carrying. They were outgunned, they were outmatched with the firepower that was there, but it did give time for another friend of mine who was in a helicopter squadron on the other side of the base to get airborne in a Huey, and another pilot got airborne in a Cobra attack helicopter. They got up and they decimated the insurgents. Unfortunately, during that time, Chris and Sergeant Atwell were both killed. But Chris, that's the kind of guy that Chris was. He's truly a heroic individual, and it's no surprise to anyone who knew him that he died with his boots on and a weapon in his hand. That was the type of person I got to spend my time with in the Corps every day, a warrior. I was so lucky to have been in their presence. I think this is what Veterans Day means to me personally. It's a time for me to reflect and remember the men and women that I was so fortunate to serve with. Those no longer with us, but also those that remain. Thank you for letting me share just that one story. All those people that I named earlier, they all have stories, but that was just the one that I wanted to tell you today. One of the things that has changed, like I said earlier, is my perspective on my time flying combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan. When I first got out, I think I had this gung-ho, excited view on all that. That was cool. It was almost fun. That was crazy. That was kind of the way I would refer to those things. Now, after having had the space to work through that time of my life, it's definitely a more somber and reserved feeling. People always ask me, what was flying combat missions like? And I've noticed that I'll tell the story of the exact same mission much differently now than I did 10 years ago. What used to be described as exciting and crazy is now what I would say scary and intense. And I'll give you an example. In Iraq, we flew what was called deep air support missions. We'd fly 35,000 feet, drop GPS-guided bombs, really far away from friendly troops. It's deep air support. We're taking out enemy before the friendly forces even get there. I wouldn't say it was simple. I wouldn't say it was not stressful, but it wasn't nearly what we were doing by the time we got to Afghanistan. 7-8 years later, we're in Afghanistan. We're doing what's called close air support. That's in close proximity to friendly forces. It was terrifying. It was intense. The risk of hurting friendly forces was always present. And I'll tell you one mission specifically. Marines were in Southern Helmand Province. 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines was the most heavily casualty battalion since Vietnam. They showed up in 2010, and literally, the fighting was intense, close combat. Marines had taken a couple casualties. They could not withdraw from the area they were in. They were taking effective fire from 2 different positions. When I checked in my F-18 with my wingman, I actually looked out with just my eyeballs, and I could see the heavy machine gun fire that had them pinned down. When I checked in with them on the radio, you could hear people screaming in the background and yelling as the forward air controller generated up a 9-line mission for us to take out the enemy positions. Now, normally, you cannot drop a 500-pound munition inside of about 285 meters of friendly forces. It's too dangerous. It's what's called danger close. Well, that day, on our sensors, we have an incredible $3 million camera system. And on that sensor, I could put a 100-meter ring, a 200-meter ring, a 300-meter ring. When I got the friendly position, I threw a 300-meter ring out there, and I could tell that the enemy was well inside that ring, and the friendlies, everybody was very, very close. I then switched it to a 100-meter ring, talked to the forward air controller, and said, hey, man, they're inside of 100 meters. And he tells me, yeah, I know, dude. He's like, I need the bomb. My thoughts at the time were, it's too dangerous. We're gonna hurt somebody. But in previous strikes, we had learned a couple things. We had pilot selectable fusing on the bombs, where we could go from instantaneous to a delay fuse. And we learned that if you delayed the fuse, the bomb would go deeper into the dirt before it blew up, which would cause the blast to go up instead of out. So I thought, okay, we can delay the fuse. The enemy they were in tree lines, kind of like the fence rows that you see out here in farmers' fields. A bunch of trees along a fence row in an open field between them and the friendlies. And then I thought, well, we could put the bomb behind that tree line, so the tree will absorb some of the blasts and the delayed fuse. That together, maybe this will work. if they hadn't been pinned down, if they hadn't suffered casualties, there was really no other option. They needed this bomb, but it was incredibly stressful and intense. We did what we said we would do, and it worked. The bombs hit where we thought they would hit, but then I heard on the radio that there was a Marine down, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, we just killed a Marine. About 30 seconds later, the forward air controller came up, and he was kind of laughing. He said, hey, he just got knocked out. He just got knocked out. It was so close that the concussion blasts from the bomb had knocked out the Marine. He didn't get his heads down. Another thing, right before the bomb hits, you yell over the radio, 10 seconds, get your heads down. That gets everybody down so that they're protected from the blast. Anyway, his head was up. He got knocked out, but he was okay. That describes the level of intensity of that type of mission. What was crazy is that in the beginning, your heart would be pounding, your mouth would go dry, you could feel your pulse in your ear tips. But towards the end of multiple deployments, the scarier thing was that your pulse wouldn't even increase. You had done it so many times that you had normalized it. Well, that's not normal life. It's not normal living. It's not any kind of normal situation that a person would find themselves in. I cannot think of a more stressful or chaotic environment than that, other than the guys that were on the ground. I was in a comfortable cockpit at 15, 16,000 feet. Those guys had it even worse. I can't even imagine what they had. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm talking about. That's why I have a different view on my time flying combat missions now, 10 years later. So to summarize, I don't know if anybody knew, but this man, Leroy Good, he was a World War II veteran here in Frankfurt. I had the fortunate opportunity to be friends with him. Staff Sergeant Good fought for 3 years across North Africa and up the Italian peninsula, making 2 amphibious landings, and was in Italy on D-Day. We're talking the stuff that movies are made of. 3 years of continuous fighting. When I spoke to him shortly before his death at 102 years of age, I talked to him about his time executing combat operations in World War II. He looks me straight in the eye and he simply says, now war, that's tough stuff. That's all he said. Turned around, walked away at the age of 102. It floored me, and I can tell you, yep, I didn't do half what Leroy Good did, but yes, war is tough stuff. So now, on a lighter note, the majority of the audience here is students, so I hope that what I've said today hasn't scared you away from any possible service that you might want to do. Would I do it again? I absolutely would do it again. I'd deploy tomorrow if they would let me. I know that regardless of the politics or of why we are at war, the simple fact was that we were at war, and my job was to protect our nation's sons and daughters that were fighting on the ground. To that end, my mission was simple: simply be the most lethal fighter pilot that I could possibly be to protect those men and women on the ground, my fellow Americans. Let's face it, politicians who never really have the courage to pick up a gun and fight, they're the ones that get us into wars. But it's people in Clinton County, the young men and women in places like Clinton County, are the ones that fight the wars. And these are the best people on earth. They're the reason that you serve. They're the reason that you fight. So if there's young Americans in the fight, regardless of why we are there, I'll always want to jump in. It's kind of like the bully who punches your brother in the nose. You may not even like your little brother, but that's not going to fly. You're not going to let that happen. Just last week, I was flying with a former service member who said he couldn't recommend to anyone to serve with this current administration. I said simply, you're wrong. You're not serving the government. You're serving your fellow Marines and service member, your fellow young Americans, your brothers and sisters, people of Clinton County, those types of folks. That's who you're serving. Serving in the military, whether it be 4 years or 24 years, gives you incredible perspective on everything and provides a solid base for anything you want to do in life. I was a 25-year-old kid with the keys to a $50 million fighter that would go 1,000 miles an hour, pull 8 Gs, go from 0 to 250 in a couple of seconds, launching from aircraft carriers all over the world. It was awesome. I mean, it really was awesome. Where else but America can a kid from Frankfurt, Indiana, do something like that? You can do whatever you want. It's really incredible. I often get the question from young high school or college kids, how can I be a pilot or how can I join the military? The main thing right now in high school is to get the best grades, test scores you can, be physically fit, and most of all, stay out of trouble. It's a long road, but anything worth doing is like that. The Navy SEALs have a bell in the center of their training compound. To get out of the pain, freezing cold, stressful training, all you have to do is go up and ring that bell, and you're out. You ring that bell, you get to go get a hot shower, get some clean clothes, and get a hot meal. All the pain stops for those SEALs right when they do that, ring that bell. So what I would say is as you're proceeding towards a hard goal, you're gonna have setbacks, you're gonna have failures. Don't ring the bell. Just keep going, keep moving forward. Before you know it, you've met the goal that you've desired to do. And the last thing I wanna say, as you go through your life, your career, everybody is gonna experience mental health problems, struggles at some point. I don't care if you're the toughest person on the planet, it'll happen. You need to work the problem, seek counsel with someone you trust, and don't go it alone. In closing, just last week, I met a local guy at the bar at South Fork in Mulberry. He was Army. He made fun of Marines being dumb. I made cracks about the Army being out of shape. He's an old Vietnam vet who was a mortar man in an infantry battalion. That's all he had to tell me for me to have an idea that this individual had been through some serious stuff. We shared a couple stories. After telling one of mine, one that I often struggle with, he didn't say a word. He just nodded his head. The story I told him I wouldn't dare tell anyone who hadn't served. It was an immediate shared bond. This guy I just met at a bar in Mulberry, who's a local here. So on this Veterans Day, I'll think of those people, past and present, and be thankful for the time I've had around them. Thank you for your time, and happy Veterans Day, Semper Fidelis.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. We thank you for your service. We are honored to have you here today and honored that you are such an inspiring role model for our hot dogs. Thank you.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. And where my fathers served, and all the pilgrims cried, from every mountain side, let freedom ring.
Next, we'd like to recognize the veterans joining us today in our ceremony. Veterans, please stand as you are able when your name is called. Richard Lee Campbell Jr. served 38 years in the U.S. Army during Vietnam, calling airstrikes with the National Guard. Gerald E. Bratner served 3 years with the U.S. Army with their Transportation 64C unit. Sammy Mitchell Seals served 2 years with the U.S. Air Force as an administration specialist. Eva Kelly served 22 years with the Indiana Army National Guard, airborne, parachute rigger and sexual assault, and response advocate. John Webster served 2 years in the Army during Vietnam as military police. Richard Turner served 5 years as a Marine and was a repairman in the 2111 Small Arms. Larry Fish II served 3 years in the Army during the Cold War era as an infantryman. Keith Hendrickson served 24 years in the Army Reserves during the Iraq-Afghanistan conflict in food service as NCO. Sean Gephardt served 8 years in the Army refueling helicopters. Matthew Jacob Mowdy served 4 years in the Army on the 19-kilo tanker. David Moore served 4 years as a Marine in Lebanon on the 3522 motor transport as a mechanic. Norman Carlson served 2 years as a Marine in Vietnam as a tank driver, and then 5 years in the Army as a supply specialist. Mercedes Davis, 4 years in the Navy. Ken Dooley served 20 years in the Navy during Iraq, serving 3 tours as a construction mechanic. Sean Watson served 6 years in the Army Reserves as a combat engineer. And affectionately known as Chooch, served in the Navy for 4.5 years in aviation electronics during Vietnam. If there are any other veterans joining us today, please stand. I invite everyone to join in giving our veterans here a round of applause for their service, sacrifice, and leadership. Thank you, veterans.
At this time, we ask that everyone please stand, remove your caps. Let's take a moment of silence to honor and remember the brave men and women who have served and sacrificed for our freedom, and all the prisoners of war and those missing in action. We have left a chair open on the floor amongst the other service men and women in their honor. Following our moment of silence, please remain standing for the playing of taps. On behalf of Frankfort High School, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of our veterans for joining us today. We are truly grateful for your service, sacrifice, and commitment to protecting our freedoms. A special thank you to our distinguished guest speaker, retired Lieutenant Colonel Travis Kelly, for sharing his inspiring words and reminding us of the true meaning of service and leadership. Fellow students, I encourage each of you to take the time to know a veteran, not only to them for their service, but to learn from their leadership, courage, and dedication. Their experiences hold lessons that can guide us all. We also want to recognize and thank our band, orchestra, and choirs for their outstanding performances today, our student speakers for their thoughtful words, student council for welcoming our guests, and Mrs. Mowdy students for preparing the delicious food for our veterans and their families. Veterans, you and your family members are invited to attend a brief reception in our hospitality room immediately following the program. Thank you again for being here with us today. God bless our veterans, our community, and the United States of America. You are dismissed.